We are back at it again, and now what we're looking at is data collection methods. Okay, we are now looking at what we call data collection methods. Maybe you have the question, what is it that we're learning? I mean, we keep learning things and stuff. Yes, we are still on data collection, but why do we need to know about this? What is this that we're about to learn now? Okay, so imagine you have a question like, you're trying to answer a question like, how does diet affect weight loss? Or what are the most popular social media apps among teens? Okay, or among youth, or among teenagers? Yeah, we can say teenagers. Or a question like, do students perform better with online learning or with in person learning? So you have these questions. The biggest question there would be is for me to be the biggest thing that would come up is for me to be able to answer any of these three questions, I need data. Okay, you need data, but the question is, how do you collect the data? Okay, so you need data for you to be able to know if students perform better with online learning or they perform better with in-person learning. So you want to find out. But the only way you can be able to find out is to get data on this. So now, what this whole section is on is teaching you the ways in which you can get this data, because you're going to need different types of data for different research questions. Whatever research you want to do, whatever study you want to do, there is a research question, there is a question for that study. And the question, you need data for you to be able to answer that question. Now, the question is, how do you collect the data? So the ways in which you can collect the data are the ones you're doing right now. Now, I'll give you a tip. Primary data has 5 ways in which you can collect it. And then secondary data is just secondary data. I mean, how do I collect it? Secondary data. How do I, it's secondary data collection, I should say, instead of just secondary data. But secondary data is collected by a method called secondary data collection, which is just reading around, finding the sources and gathering them and reusing them for whatever particular thing you want to do. So let's go through these 6 ways that we have of data collection. So we've said data collection is important because it helps you to gather the data which you need to answer a particular research question. To be able to conduct your research, you want to get data, and for you to be able to get the accurate data, you need to use the right method. And this is on those methods, those data collection methods. How many are they? 6. And I'll give you first, let's go through the definition, then we talk about the rest. So definition here, which I've written down, is that data collection methods are don't make it hard. Please don't make it hard, okay? Don't make it hard. It should always be simple, and you should be able to answer questions at the end of the day. So if it's too professional and hard and everything, how will you answer the question? So let's make it as easy as we can. Data collection methods, these are just the different ways that we collect or gather information for research, okay, and analysis. So the different ways in which we can collect data, these are the data collection methods. How many are they? 6. What mnemonic do I use? Squeeze! So it's like this. It's like, squeeze! You know, that's the collection. These are the data collection methods. Squeeze! Okay? These are the data collection methods. What are they? This S, I'll tell you, this S is for surveys. So surveys is like, questions. So surveys goes on with questionnaires. So this is surveys and questionnaires. Then this E is for experiments. Then this O is for observational studies. We call observations or observational studies. Then this I is for interviews. Then this S is for secondary data. Then this other S is for sensors and automated systems. Okay, so here you can say interviews and focus groups. That is for I. I is I and F. Okay, interviews and focus groups. Then sensors is sensors and automated systems. Okay, so we have surveys and questionnaires. Okay, experiments, observational studies, interviews and focus groups, secondary data, and sensors and automated systems, right? Yeah, sensors and automated systems. These are the six. So let me see if I'm correct. Yeah, sensors and automated systems, surveys. So these are just the six. You can remember them. So surveys and questionnaires. I'm giving you a summary here, then we'll start looking at them in depth in the next video. But we've talked about why you need the data collection methods. And here are the six things. And basically, surveys is when you ask people questions and get data from them. So you want to get data from people. We call the people respondents. So surveys is just when you ask questions or questions that are designed to get data from the people. So you ask questions to get some data from the people. And then experiments, this is just when you change something and then you see what happens when you change it. Okay, for experiments you change something. Remember, experiments, for an experiment you're going to control an experiment. You change something, then you see what happens when I change it. For observations, you are just going to watch and observe without interfering. You're not going to touch anything. So you just watch and observe and record. Okay, that is observational studies. Then interviews and focus groups, you're going to have a conversation now. You want to go in depth. You're going to ask the hows and the whys. And so interviews are for in depth. This is when you have a conversation. So for interviews, you are having a conversation. And for secondary data, you use existing information. And for sensors, you just let technology do the work. For sensors and automated systems, you let technology collect the data. So let's see, we said surveys is when you just ask people questions. So this is asking people structured questions. This is just a summary. Experiments, this is when you change something or you change a variable. Variable is something that can be changed, okay? We change it and then we see what happens. We observe the effects of that change. So experiments, you change a variable, you alter a variable, and you watch the effects. Observational studies, it is when you watch and record without interfering, okay? You just watch, you don't interfere. So you watch and record without behaviors, without interfering. Interviews and focus groups. This is when you talk to people to get detailed insights or have conversations to get detailed insights. These are interviews. You talk to people or have conversations for you to end up having detailed insights. Secondary data collection. This is just when you use existing data, when you reuse existing data. Right. Now, sensors and automated systems, this is now when you use technology to collect real-time info. So these are the six. What did we say surveys are? We can come here. What did we say surveys are? It is when you ask people questions to get answers from them or to get information from them. Experiments, you change or alter a variable and see what happens. Then observational studies, what do you do in observational studies? You just watch and record. You analyze behavior, you watch behavior and record without interfering. And then interviews, you say you alter something, then you watch what happens. Interviews, you have a conversation, an in-depth conversation. Interviews, you have an in-depth, detailed conversation, right? Yeah. And then secondary data, you just reuse already existing data that's already existing, and you reuse it for a different purpose. Then sensors, it's when you let technology collect data continuously or automatically. And these are the six data collection methods. Now let's go and look at the advantages and disadvantages and whatever else. Goodbye for now.